13, 14. This has 14 mites in it. They're all settling down right here. 21 mites in that. That's hive 3. I ended up coming up with 11 mites in here, so that one needs treated as well. So high 5, I'll land 1 mite. Last time I checked on them, they didn't have any brood, but there was a queen in there, and I marked her, and I did an OA when there was no cap brood. And then 5 days later, I went ahead and did another OA treatment, just hopefully clean things up. So wouldn't expect to see much in here, and I just have debris. There's no mites in here. Our bucket. Grab on, give us a good shake. Yeah, see all that open larvae? That's about to be capped, so that'll be a good one to do a mite test on. And you want to keep the alcohol away from your smoker. It'd be a bad day. Again, we're only going for 300, which is a half cup. That's what I have here. Then just kind of give it a little shake so it's a nice even half cup. As quick as you can, flip it in there, close that, shake. And those have been dispatched. This says to stir well before each use. And this is in milliliters, but this is talking about grams. But it said that 51 milliliters is 50 grams. So I'm just doing 25, so I am going to do 26 milliliters, just to be a little high on that. And then you're supposed to stir this. I don't know if this is to get the smell going or if it's more to make sure it's consistent. The consistency's weird. It's weird. It's almost like foamy soap. Looks like the suds from soap, but like a gel consistency. They say you can put feeder shims on here, but the little EPA thing said to have 3 inches above it, so I think you pretty much have to have a supernaut to do that. And remember, the brood was near the left side, so I'm going to stick this card down here. Again, we're doing just 25 because the temperature is so high. 25 grams, which should be about 26 milliliters. And then I'm just putting it right on the card. Give them a little surface area so they can take it out of there as they need it. And this stuff needs to be stored under 86 degrees, so you should really store it somewhere inside if possible. Pull another 26 grams. It kind of has a weird smell to it. So I'm going a little bit further, and then I'm pushing it back out just in case there's any air in there. And then I just kind of squirt it out. Just trying to make sure there's a lot of surface area so they can get to it to remove it, instead of just having it in one big blob. Just go ahead and do this one before I put it on. So that one just needs treated. But this other one needs completely swapped over. Different bottom board and a slatted rack. Again, the slatted rack gives them a little space to get more bees in the hive, so that when it's hot out there, there's not a big beard on there, and it keeps them inside. Less likely for skunks, possums, raccoons to get out there and mess with them, so get them up in there. But it also gives me the opportunity to give them an OA treatment through the back of the hive. This is the stuff that doesn't stick as well. But that's all I do. So I just put a little hole in the back of the hive the size of that. Make sure it's clear before I treat. Sometimes, it looks like Tennessee. Sometimes you could just use a drill if that's the way you wanted to do it. I'm going to stick this on, shove it in the bottom, and just roll it up the top. The vent's like right at the top, so it kind of makes it tricky to have something that'll work, but I think that's going to do it for us. Keep the vapors in for OA, and then it'll keep the vapors in for the Apiguard thymol. It's been about 24 hours since the thymol treatment has been on. Definitely getting some bearding here as things heat up. One's been treated. They're not very strong with a lot of bearding. 2 was not treated. It's a pretty weak hive. Hoping for a queen to hatch out of there. 3 was treated. 4 was treated. Really strong hive. 5 was treated. 6 and 7 were treated. It has been 24 hours and all of that Apiguard is gone completely. Just looking through the clear inner cover on this. Not going to open it. That's crazy. Completely gone. So it's all volatilized. You can smell it out here in the apiary too. This is hive 1. It's been 4 days. The Apiguard is still in there in its gel form. There is a lot of propolis forming around it. Interesting. This is one of the weaker hives, so. This is hive 1. There are 109 small hive beetles, and there's 609 mites. And this is exactly 7 days after a mite treatment. I'm going to filter this, and then we'll do another mite treatment and see what the drop is next week. This is hive 3. I was going to count, but there's just way too many. There's about 70 just in this row, and there's 11 rows, so it could be quite a bit. There's not many up there because of the slatted rack, but there's tons here. All these dots are mites. Again, this is after 1 week treatment with 25 grams, double deep, 8-gram setup. A lot of small hive beetles too. This is hive 4. I'm not going to count mites. It's just taking too long. Look at there, the small hive beetles are so thick they're almost out of the oil. And again, this has just been 1 week on this hive. And there's no larvae in there. Oh, there is one larvae. And these crystals here are the Apiguard, I believe. If not, it's the card that the Apiguard was in. You can see it right here in the center. This smells really strongly of thymol as well. This is hive 5. I'm not going to count mites. There's not as many, but I don't have a lot of time. Lots of small hive beetles. Again, this is near the entrance, so I may try to go ahead and put those guardians back on and just see if that number gets reduced. Hive 5. This is hive 6. Very, very few mites. Small hive beetles. This is the back corner. There's always more near the corners. This is hive 7. This here is the Apiguard they've been trying to carry out. Looks like some got down in here. There's just tons and tons of mites in here. I'm sure you can see all those. And this is after 1 week Apiguard, and a lot of small hive beetles here too. There's no entrance reducers on hive 6 or 7, so I'll need to get something on there to help with the small hive beetles. So this will be week 2 of treatment. And again, we cleaned the bottom boards. It'll be interesting to see how many mites fall. Guys, look at all of that propolis. It's just around the card. They're not chewing it up, they're just leaving it in there. The weather's going to be a little bit cooler. Still above the 60s as the lows, but not low enough to put a bigger dose in here. Some people do 3 doses at about 30 or 33 grams so that they can get to the 100 gram limit. I don't know that it says that you need that much. The higher temperatures actually makes it more effective because it's a fumigant, not necessarily a dose-based application. But So this is what we have. Can't really tell exactly what they've got going on there. It's almost like the clear coating that I was talking about, they got rid of, or that's left, and then they got into the cardboard part of it. Trying to tear that out. That's interesting. So, let's give them a little shake. Try to get them off that. Yeah, that's interesting. This hive to give me some temperature alerts, so it was getting above the typical 95 that's in here. So it's good to keep this reduced dose. I can get you up high enough to see what's going on in here. Good amount of bees. Card is empty. This is one of the hives I will take a block out and lower because it's just hard to get to. Look at that. They made a giant propolis ring around it. Tiny bit on there still. I see to kind of scrape that off. Well, it's crystallized. And usually you can just wipe it on there. That's crazy. Look at that. It's just completely propolized off. Maybe to keep the smell from going down between the joints there. No need to waste a card if they're still intact. 7. Never really planned on having 7 hives. Always aiming for 6, but this nuke was strong. Never did sell. Probably glad now because I think hive 2 is probably going to have to be broken down and considered a loss. Due to that drone laying queen and just not having enough time in the year. May not be worth it. So I need to get that out. Oh, look at that. There's a small hive beetle on the bottom of it. Interesting. Okay. Let's go ahead and get that. Put that card where that one was. So you can see that. More of the same. I was reading the EPA paper for this stuff, and it said their recommendation was for it to have a 3-inch space above it to allow bees to have room to it, but I think a feeder shim would be all you need. Maybe even an inner cover. It's thick enough because that doesn't take up much space. It's probably maybe 3/16 of an inch thick at a 25 gram dose. I guess a 50 gram dose would be twice that, so maybe you would need some sort of feeding shim spacer. September 16th. It's been 7 days since I've replaced the oil in this, and this is a week after the second treatment of Apiguard. Hive 1 had 446 mites and 23 small hive beetles, and this is Hive 3. It has 411 mites and 68 small hive beetles. So when I pull these trays out, I immediately have an extra tray to put back in there so that bees don't fly up underneath that screen part and then die when I put the screen back in. This is Hive 4. There are 1,068 mites in here, and there are 249 small hive beetles. And this is how I filter. I just pour this stuff in. Just give it a second to drain there and then let that go through. And then I will spray these off and dry these off for next time. I don't go too long there. We're gonna have a little residuals. Some of these dead beetles too, the chickens will eat these out of the tray. So if I take this over here, I'll just set it down, put it right there. The chickens will come and eat that right out of the tray. So they're eating the adults that haven't even made it out of the hive yet, so let them do their job. This is hive 5. It has 375 mites, and it has 112 small hive beetles. This is hive 5. Hive 5 has a little bit fresher oil. That's why it's a little easier to see and easier to count mites. This one only has 19 mites and 26 small hive beetles. This is hive 7. After 1 week, it has 959 mites and 138 small hive beetles. This is sort of our control. So we have the entrance slightly reduced, but there is no guardian entrance on it. We also haven't had these trays in there very long to see how many small hive beetles they have had, but they had quite a few because they had the supers on the longest. But there's no guardians, so this is sort of a control. Just stir this up. Trying to get this mixed well. Just using a paint stir stick. Get this where you can see it. Seem a little less bothered with it this time. Actually, let me scrape the old stuff off. It's amazing how much propolis is on this. It's crazy. So scrape it off to the side, see if they deal with it. Look at all that propolis on there. Definitely have to scrape a lot of propolis off of that. That's crazy. Even my broodminder here is getting propolized in really well. Just look inside. Crazy amount of propolis. That card still seems to be intact though. Good amount of bees too. Roll that out like last time. Lots of propolis. So move that off to the side. You know what? Actually, I'm not treating this one. I forgot. This one, I'm gonna leave that stuff in the middle there. Let them clean that out. I am not treating that one. That one had so few mites that I don't think it needs it again. So they have eaten it all. It's 2 layers. They delaminated it, ate the middle out of it. Now they're trying to get the lamination sheets out. So I'm going to pull those out and then swap a new one in. New card in. It's crazy. Yeah, that's just part of the lamination from one side of it. That was what the buildup on the bottom was. You are in desperate need of it. Got a lot of mites in this hive. One thing I was going to do, I didn't have an entrance reducer on that last hive here with the guardian entrance. Went ahead and chopped the front off of this one, and I'm going to go ahead and swap this in. Small enough beetles can't get in. Today's September 23rd. This is at the end of the 3rd week of treatment for Apiguard, and I've been doing 25 grams each week. And hive 6 I did not treat last week because they had so few mites, and I don't think I'm going to treat this hive 1 again. They had 62 mites fall, and there are 23 small hive beetles in here. And this is after we put the guardian entrances on. So I typically like to leave the guardian entrances off the bottoms actually pulled some pollen off their legs, so I don't like to do that. But I leave them off because the bees can come and go a little bit more freely. But I think what I'm going to do from now on in is after our second honey pool, sometime in July or mid-July, I'm going to put them back on because that's when I seem to have a spike in small hive beetles inside the hive. But they sort of seem to spike about the same time that the mites do. So we'll just try to hit them all from all sides next year and just try to be a little more proactive instead of reactive. This is Hive 3's bottom board. 233 mites and 53 small hive beetles. Last week they had 411 mites and 68 small hive beetles. This is Hive 4. They have 470 mites dropped. Last week they had 1,068, so they have a lot less. Still a lot of mites, but all of these are dead mites. So it'll be interesting to see where they are next week. They will get a treatment this week. This will be the 4th week. I sure hope it knocks them out. They have 229 small hive beetles. And last week they had 249. I'm not sure why this hive has so much more. It is painted green, and the rest of them are like a brown color. I don't know if that has something to do with it, or if it's just a little bit further under a tree. This is Hive 5. They have 57 mites. There's 194 small hive beetles. This is Hive 5. Hive 5 did not get an additional treatment, but I left what was on there. There's very, very little bit left. So this will be an extra week to get it through the full 3 weeks. There are 34 mites. Your 1% level is approximately 10 mites per day. This is a 7-day drop, so that's well under that. And there's 65 small hive beetles. This is Hive 7. This may make me treat Hive 6, which is next to it, just so that there's no drifting. There's 495 mites in here. Last week there was 959, so there's still quite a bit of knockdown, but it's a lot less than it was. There was 138 small hive beetles last week, and this week there's 75. Got a little decline, but it's just peppered with mites. I mean, there's so many mites in here, it's crazy. So Hive 7 had 495, and Hive 4 had 470. So I'm concerned about those two hives the most. Hive 1 seems to be under control. Hive 5 and 6 seems to be under control. So we may just do it one more time so that we're not getting any bee drift that's going to affect the numbers of the hives near them. All the propolis around this thyme wall. This is the Apiguard. Crazy. Hive 1, this is 1 month after treatment, so the treatment should be done. Again, this is 4 weeks. They say you can go treat up to 6 weeks, but we put 25 grams in for 4 weeks. You can still leave stuff on the hive, but Hive 1 has 49 mites and 46 small hive beetles. This is Hive 3. It's got 152 mites. That is more than I want to have in here. And there are 179 small hive beetles in this. I'm just going to look back at the previous records. So we were at 1,068, 249 hive beetles. And then we moved to 470. Oh, I'm sorry, are we on 3? Sorry, we're on 3. 411 mites, and then 68 small hive beetles. And then 233 mites with 53 small hive beetles. So we have less mites, and more small hive beetles, but there's still a good number of mites in here. That's about 14 dropping a day. Let's just round it up to. This is hive 4 on September 30th. There are 171 mites, too many, and 428 small hive beetles. This seems to be one of the worst small hive beetles. This is hive 5. It only has 38 mites. It's under the 10 per day, so they're probably under the threshold. They have 275 small hive beetles. This is hive 6. This one's been low for quite a while. It had 7 mites and 102 small hive beetles. We do have, doesn't look like there's a ton of issues, but I am seeing a larvae there. Looks like a small hive beetle. There's a larvae here, probably small hive beetle because there's no frass. Larvae there, small hive beetle. Again, there's no frass, so that's what's leading me to believe that. I can't see the legs to really be able to tell if it's a wax moth or a small hive beetle, but hive 7, last one for the night. It has 275 mites and 110 small hive beetles.